I'm going to be interviewing Jeanette. She is my sister-in-law, and she came out to stay with me while Paul went bear hunting, and I was going to be taking her deer hunting. And during this process, we had some weird things that happened, and the first thing that kind of kicked it off was she and I was sitting out front. It was dark, and from across the creek in the woods, I thought I heard what sounded like a knock. And it wasn't 5 minutes later, Jeanette saw something, so she's going to tell you what she saw.
Okay. It's nice to be with you, Pam. And we've had a wonderful week. We were sitting there, and we did hear the knocks. And we sat there for a few minutes talking about them, and I looked over toward Pam, and back behind her in the
It's like a little field.
yeah, like a little field, there was a ball of light about the size of a baseball that was probably about 30 feet off of the ground, and it went past the field, through the field, and it was traveling really fast, and behind it, it didn't have like a tail on it, but it was moving so fast that it was just like a streak of light behind the ball, and it went straight into the woods and disappeared. So I would say that it was probably about 40 yards from one set of trees across the, what would you call that?
It's just a little field there.
Field, and went into the trees. And when it went into the trees, it disappeared. I didn't see it after that. And that happened probably 5 minutes after we heard.
Yeah, after we heard the knock.
The knock.
Yeah. And and which all of you know that, we have seen these lights out here before, and what they are, don't really have a clue. Some people think it's Sasquatch related, and it kind of seems to be, in my opinion. And
it was very bright. I mean, it was perfectly round. It, perfectly round. but it moved so fast that it was like the streak, behind it.
Behind it.
But the brightness of it was just what was, really caught my eye. I mean, it was just very bright.
Very bright.
Very bright.
Well, see, that's how the one that I seen that come by the window, it was
Right.
really bright.
Right.
And it was
And
illuminating.
but yours had a tail on
Yeah,
it, didn't it?
it had a tail.
Yes.
It actually had like a tail. But it illuminated inside the house and was like shining up on the ceiling.
Right.
So.
Right. And I have never seen anything like this, and I have never heard wood knocks or anything like that. But I definitely have heard them this week.
Yeah, and that's something that, which right now there's a lot of like, walnuts and acorns and stuff falling, but you can tell the difference between that and a knock. Because when they fall, like, and you hear them, usually it's like on the roof out here, like some of the buildings we have out here. But, and what we heard this one day was coming from behind the house. We was in my deer stand, but we could, tell where it was coming from. And we heard it was, it was three knocks. It was like
3 knocks.
like consecutive.
No.
And then
right.
a pause.
Uh-huh.
And then it wasn't a very long pause.
No.
And then after that, it was 2 more.
2 more knocks. I would say in between the 3 pauses, it could have possibly been 5-10 seconds.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Something like that. It wasn't very far apart. And then the 2 came after that. But the first 3 were right behind each other. A small pause, and then 2 more right behind each other.
And Jeanette looked at me and she said, "What was that?" And I said, "Those are knocks."
Right.
And and then we was sitting there the next day, back in the deer stand, and we heard what sound. It was some kind of knock. I don't know. It was crazy sounding.
It was.
And it sounded like somebody taking like 2 big, huge bamboo, poles.
Poles.
And hitting them.
Hollow.
Yeah, hollow. And it was just one, but it was close, and it was loud.
And it was loud, yes.
And she looked at me.
It was a distinctive sound.
Yeah.
It's something that I haven't heard before.
Yeah. And, I mean, we don't have bamboo out here.
No.
But that's exactly what it sounded like. And she looked at me and she says, "What was that?" And I said, "I have no clue."
Right.
Right. And, we did, I don't know whether to bring this up, but we did hear something growling.
Right.
We don't know what that was. I ain't going to say it was a Bigfoot, but it was weird.
Right.
We heard it 5 different times.
And it was a different sound. I don't know what it was, but it was a low, like down in the belly sound.
And it was, the growls.
Deep,
the growls wasn't real long.
Right. They were short.
But, and that was like right behind my deer stand.
Right.
And so, and you can't, it's so thick through there, you can't see anything.
You can't see anything.
And so, I faced that way.
And that's what I was going to say. I do know after that you did not turn
No.
kind of away from that area.
No.
You looked out that side most of the time.
Yep.
That we stayed in that deer stand.
I told Jeanette, I said, "You keep hunting, I'm gonna keep watching."
Right. And
but
I said that, whatever it is, if it comes up, you go ahead and take care of it, and I'll just make a back door.
But it was unnerving.
Yeah, it is.
When you hear
very
something
unnerving.
When you hear something growling, you don't know what it is because it wasn't. It didn't sound like a dog. or to me, it had a different tone than a dog. I mean, I guess the way it growled, I guess, was like a dog, but to me, it had a deeper.
It's this. The sound of it was like low in the belly. That's the only way I could describe it.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, it was like something down deep.
Yeah.
You know.
And we couldn't even tell where. I mean, we knew what direction it was coming from, but we couldn't tell like how close it was.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But I listened to different sounds of animals that are around here. I mean, it wasn't like a coyote. It wasn't a bobcat. I don't know.
It was just different.
It was different.
Yeah. It was different.
But,
and it wasn't a deer grunt or
nothing.
A buck. It wasn't anything like that.
No. It was, and we thought maybe a bear, but I don't know. I don't even think it was that. I can't say what it was, but I'm just saying this was our experience. And then something else that happened, and Jeanette got to be a part of this, but before she came, Paul and I had went deer hunting Saturday, and I killed a deer. And it ran into the woods, and we waited about 30 minutes before we got down, and we went to go look for it, and Paul was looking out in the woods. He could see something white, and he thought maybe that was the horns, and so he took off to walk over there, and it was like a jawbone of a deer, and it was on this log, and right there in front of that jawbone, and the point of it was pointing right at my deer. And Paul said, "I found it." And so I went over there, and he told me, he said, "Look at that bone." He said, "It's like pointing right at your deer." And
that's so weird.
And I actually picked it up and looked at it, and I was like, "Well, that is weird." And I put it down exactly
right back in the same place.
In the exact same position. And so we got the deer out of there, and the next day, Jeanette was with me, and we was hunting, and I had told her the story, and anyways, she's after we got down, we was gonna walk over there and look at it, and so we got down later and went over there, and we walked up in there. And I was looking at that log, and I was like, "Where's it at?" So I got to looking all around, and I looked on the back side of the log, everywhere. I said, "It is not here." And so we got to looking around, and about how many feet away would you say that? 25 foot maybe?
Possibly, yeah. 25 feet.
Jeanette said, "Is that it?" And I walked over there, and there that crazy thing was up on this.
Another log.
Yeah, it was like a little root coming up out of the ground from a tree. And it was just sitting there. And I'm like, "Oh my God, how did that get over here?"
Right.
I mean.
It was sitting on another root, on a piece of bark or a piece of
wood.
Yeah. That's the weird part of it too. I mean, it could have been sitting on the ground or something like that, but it wasn't. It was there to where a person could see it, in sight.
Yeah.
Kind of like to show.
Yeah.
And to show that it was there.
It was just really, really crazy.
And it was sitting. It wasn't leaning off of the side or anything like that. It was sitting perfectly,
perfectly
in its
on
place.
there. Yeah. Well, I filmed all of this, but tomorrow before I take Jeanette back home, we're going to walk back over there and see if it's still there. So,
Right.
you know, if anything changes, I will add to this.
Right.
But, you know, I just...
Well, I kind of hope that it's still there.
Yeah, me too.
Because, you know, we might have to walk and see if we can find it.
Well, that's the thing. It's scary
if we want to walk.
if we want to walk. But, you know, it's crazy.
I
Just the
do
stuff.
believe that. I do believe that if it isn't on there, then if I know Pam the way I know her, she's going to be really wanting to know where that is at, and we're going to have to scout around.
Probably won't scout around too long.
Yeah, that's
But-
true. We might have to just get on out of there.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just, but when we found it on the log and it was pointing at the deer, like directly at the deer, it was almost like it was placed. And like I said, we sat there for 30 minutes, you know, before we got down to look for it.
To make sure the deer was
Yeah,
down and everything.
but and you know, Paul even thought it was weird, you know, the way it was just sitting there, and but then to go back the next day, and that thing is gone, and then it's 25 foot in another place. I don't know.
Well, when we were walking in there, I was thinking, what if that thing's not there? What if it's not there? And then I was a little bit of a ways behind you, and whenever you said it's gone, I was like, oh no, where did it go?
Yeah.
Where did it go?
Well, and you're the one that spotted it.
Yeah. But Pam walked all around in that area, looked underneath the, put her camera down on the other side, to make sure that it wasn't, had not fallen off.
And I actually finally
or
just
anything,
climbed over the log and
Right.
and looked at the other side.
And that's what I was, telling her. I was like, make sure, the wind didn't blow it off, because it has been a little windy here a little bit, but, the wind didn't blow it up there. It hadn't been that windy,
Yeah.
But, I thought maybe it fell off, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the ground.
Yeah.
So
And
it
that's
had been moved.
And that's when we both started kind of freaking out a little bit. And then we was looking around, and Jeanette turned around as we was kind of making our way back to the, out of the woods. And Jeanette said, well, is that it? And I said, where? And she said, and I walked over there, and I was like, oh my God. And and to see how this thing was placed on there, it, I know squirrels chew on bones, but I just...
But I don't see one picking one up and like putting
it right on top of that.
No.
Yeah. And
if it was going to, chew on it, he would chew on it, or she would chew on it on the ground.
Yeah. Or,
Besides placing it up on
or
the root.
Yeah, because the root is odd. I mean,
Yes,
the way
it is.
The way it kind of comes up out of the ground.
It's kind of like a little, a little bridge or something.
Little arch.
Yeah, a little arch.
And but anyways, like I said, I've got all this filmed, and so y'all will get to see that next. But I want to thank Jeanette for
Thank you
for allowing me to interview her, and we've had a great time, a lot of laughs.
We've had a wonderful time.
And Jeanette, she got her a deer.
Very first one in my whole life.
Yeah. And so this has been really exciting.
Very first hunt.
Yeah. So, but again, I want to, thank everybody for listening. And like I said, I'll show the videos after this, and hope everybody maybe can give me a shout out as to what they think. You can leave it in the comments, and hope everybody likes it and subscribes to it, and I'm hoping to keep putting more stuff out there.
Right. And I'd like to add that one or two things that you see through, through the weeks and the months and the years that you live here, is a few things. But when you see many, many different things that are odd and that people don't normally see, they all add up to something.
Yeah.
And
well,
and you've seen a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm your sister-in-law, and I see what you've been through. With everything that you have seen. And like I said, if it was just a couple things every year or two, or odd looking little things, that would be different. But the things that you have experienced has really touched you. It's really in many different ways.
Yeah. Well,
and
I can say this, where when Jeanette shot her deer, it ran up in the woods right behind where I had my sighting. And so by the time we got around and got up there to go look, it was dark.
Getting dark.
Yeah.
And Pam was saying, I don't want to go very far up in there because that's where I saw my sighting. And so we walked for, I don't know.
We went probably maybe 60 yards up in there.
Probably.
50, 60 yards. And
then by that time it was dark.
Yeah, it was dark, and we had was our phone lights. But I just want to say that, I'm making myself do this stuff, and even though it makes me uncomfortable. And then, I told her what she...
And I can see why.
Yeah.
I can see why. I really can.
But, I thought we needed to just back out and get some guys out here to help. I didn't want to go up in there because we didn't know how far it went. And
actually, we were just
probably...
If we would have turned around and looked just in another little...
Direction.
We
would have found her, but
we would have been right on top of her.
All we had was our phone lights,
right?
So,
and we didn't want to walk on farther up the hill,
But but I am, progressing a little bit, I guess you could say. I'll probably never be like I used to be,
right?
But me and Jeanette, we done good. I was proud of her.
Had a wonderful week, and I appreciate you, Pam, very much.
Wow.
This has been a highlight of my life. I mean, we have our family highlights of having our children and our marriage, and our loved ones and our friends and everything. But for special occasions, different things that's happened in our life, this has been a highlight of my life. I'm 66 years old. I've never been hunting before, per se. My brother took me hunting one time, and I was like, I'm ready to go. And I got out in the woods, and I got scared, so we turned around and left. But Pam's a wonderful, she's wonderful working with with me because she's very patient. And we didn't exactly know how tired we were until after I did kill my first deer. And I had so much adrenaline running through me that I had no idea that I was tired until everybody left, and then I just about collapsed, and so did Pam. But it's been wonderful, and I appreciate you, Pam, for giving me this chance to do this, because it's been one of the funnest and a huge highlight in my life, and I appreciate you for that.
Well, I appreciate you. Well, I love you too, and this has been so much fun, and and then you also kind of got to experience a little bit of the activity that I have,
and I'm glad that I have, because It's like I've told people about it, and I said, I know my sister-in-law and my brother, and I know the honesty, and they're Christians. I know that their stories are true. Their experiences are true, and whenever I've, told people about their experiences, they, at first they kind of, are, not really for sure. And then when I let them know that you're my family and that I know you and that you would never, say something that wasn't true, they kind of listen a lot closer,
Yeah, and see, that's the whole point.
Right.
That's my whole point.
Right.
Is for people that don't believe.
Right.
To,
And it's hard for people to believe
it's hard
the things that they don't see, they can't see or they can't hear.
Yeah.
And a lot of people over the years have, made, funny comments and stuff about Bigfoot and, stuff like that. But whenever you see it and hear it for yourself, and
Completely
I know
different.
your honesty, I believe it.
Yeah.
And then I heard what I've heard and seen what I've seen while I've been out here.
Yeah.
So, I've always believed you because I know you,
Yeah. But when you start you get a little tiny taste of what I go through.
Right.
On a weekly basis.
Right.
I can't say daily because I don't hear something every day of my life. But, sometimes it's worked out to be daily. But, it's tough to wrap your mind around it and try to keep going, to keep doing the things that, that you enjoy. But, I make myself.
Right. And you're always kind of on guard.
All the time.
No matter what you do, if you go out to plant flowers or if you go, in the summertime to clean your pool, or if you just want to go out and do something in the yard, you're constantly on guard.
Yeah.
And you are constantly looking around your surroundings at all times.
I can't keep my head still.
No. And this is what this has, done to you over the times that you've been here and seen and heard.
Yeah.
What you have.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in you, although I haven't experienced it until this, and what I've seen this weekend is nothing compared to what she has been through. But I know what it's done to her over the years. What you have dealt with over the years, because we've had many conversations about it, and I know what it's made you feel like.
Yeah. Well, and it's I used to be all over this place, but that don't happen anymore.
No.
And it probably never will.
Well, I know when we were out, just going around, hunting and stuff, you were telling me I used to go here or I used to go there, or, places that there's no way you would go by yourself now.
Nope.
I mean, when we got up looking for my deer, that was as far as there was a certain point that was as far as you would go.
Yeah.
Because that's where your first sighting, or that was your first sighting.
The first, that was the one where I was in my pool.
Right.
And we actually walked behind where it would have been on down the hill a little bit, but it's just that whole area.
Yeah. Right.
And I went in as far as I felt comfortable, because the whole area back through there creeps me out, and that was just as far as I wanted to go.
Right.
Well,
I actually, said the area where I saw the ball of light at was down the hill a little ways. And I asked Pam, I said, can we walk, back down the hill from where I had shot the deer, and then, turn and go down into that little field there. And she's like, I really don't want to. But I was kind of worried about my deer because, I thought it ran that way. And I kind of, thought, well, maybe if I just go down there a little ways with my light, and kind of check it. And I said, Pam, you stay here and you watch me as I walk down there, And I walked down for a little ways, and I didn't want to get out of her sight because I didn't want her to get nervous or, you know, me to get scared even more than what I was. But I still was concerned about the deer, you know. So I turned around and came back, and she was waiting there for me, looking for me. I mean, she's seen me the whole time, but, you know, she was looking in my direction the whole time. But I was just kind of concerned for the deer, you know, because I didn't want to just wound it, you know.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated Pam, and you know, had a good time with you this week, and maybe one of these years we can do it again.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that'll be fine.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, that'll be fine with me. But well, I want to thank everybody again for listening. And like I said, after this, y'all will get to watch the video of the deer bone. And just like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think squirrels can do this. I mean, you know, I'm looking for answers just like everybody else. So,
right.
But anyways, thank y'all for listening, and God bless. Yesterday, I killed a deer, and it came over into these woods. And Paul and I waited about 30 minutes to get up and come look for it. Well, as Paul walked up the path, he was looking over here, and he seen something white, and he thought it was possibly the deer horn. So he come into the woods and walked over, and he was like, "Hey Pam, I found it." So I walked over here, and my buck was laying right in here, and he said, "I seen something that was really bright white," and he said, "I walked over here," and he said, and there was a deer, like a jawbone of a deer, and it was right there, and it was pointing straight at my buck, which, you know, we thought was odd. I even picked it up and looked at it, you know, and I set it right back down right there, and pointed it had it exactly like I found it. Well, my sister-in-law Jeanette came out here with me the next day. She was wanting a deer hunt, and I had told her the story, and she says, "Well, after we get done," she said, "let's walk over there." So we come over here, and that bone is gone, and it's not anywhere around. I've even crawled around this log, looked under it, all around it, and it's not here. You know, I don't know if an animal could have picked it up and carried it away, but just another crazy thing that happens around here. Where we found the bone, where my deer fell, was right there on that log. And we was walking around, and we came over probably about 25 foot, and there it lays on this. That makes no sense.